NFL OTAs are here. Players are back practicing on the football fields once again. And that means everybody in the fantasy football community has their sleepers or guys that they really believe that they're going to draft and they're going to absolutely hit on all of these draft picks. And I feel like given that it's so early into the fantasy offseason, that it's too early for me to give out players that we must be drafting as sleepers and guys that are guaranteed to return on value. But you know what we can talk about? This video is going to talk about 5 players that we should definitely be monitoring as potential sleepers in fantasy football in 2025. Most of the players on this list are rookies, so while I did want to make this kind of a rookie recap video, there is one player that's had a change of scenery that we should also be monitoring. We'll definitely get around to doing just a rookie video, and we'll probably talk about some of these names again later on, but for now, these are 5 sleepers that you should at least be monitoring, if not drafting this offseason. Let's roll the intro. Before I give my 5 players that we should be monitoring this offseason and should potentially be drafting, I do want to take the time out to say, if you're not subscribed to the channel, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below for more fantasy football content. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers here. I'm on my grind. I'm posting as much as I can. Weekly live streams on Monday. We do Mock Monday up until the regular season starts. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any fantasy football content here. Now let's talk RJ Harvey, the first player that we should be monitoring in our fantasy football drafts. What we know about RJ Harvey thus far: he is the second running back that's been drafted in the Sean McVay era of the Denver Broncos. He is incredibly fast. He has elite speed metrics. He is in the 96th percentile in the 40-yard dash amongst rookies. He's in the 91st percentile of speed score and 88th percentile of burst score. So we know that he can accelerate to breakaway speed and can get to that with a high burst and high acceleration to create that open space for himself. And Harvey is in an offense that's definitely going to utilize him. Normally, in a Sean Payton style offense, there are multiple fantasy running backs that become relevant. But what helps RJ Harvey's case here is that he's head and shoulders the most talented running back in the Denver Broncos backfield right now. So we can assume even if he's not the week 1 starter right away for the Denver Broncos, we're going to see our fair share of RJ Harvey. We're going to see plays designed just for him to get out of the backfield and catch passes. Harvey is realistically the best pass catcher, which is going to benefit us in PPR style formats, which makes Harvey even more interesting than he already is. And out of anybody on this list, he's really the most likely and more so the most obvious name on this list that's going to take away a starting job from somebody else and run away with it the entire season. Quick overview of RJ Harvey. Worst case scenario, we have a backup running back that's going to play on pass catching downs and receive a healthy amount of targets on top of sprinkled in some carries here and there. And best case scenario is he takes over the starting job and wins it. So we have to be monitoring RJ Harvey for those reasons alone. Next up on this list, this is the only player not a rookie on this list. Though we are very familiar with his name, so there's no need to say that you should get familiar with this player. Jordan Mason is in a new offense in Minnesota, so we need to get familiar with the new backfield and his complementary pieces. And as I briefly mentioned just before, a lot of people, if not all of us, are very familiar with Jordan Mason because of what happened last year and that he stepped up and became a hero when Christian McCaffrey was hurt. And he has that opportunity again to do that if Aaron Jones were to get hurt. But if Aaron Jones were to not miss the entire season, we can actually look at the potential outcomes of what it's going to look like with Jordan Mason alongside Aaron Jones, if not taking over the backfield at some point. Aaron Jones is coming off of a 2024 campaign where he did not miss a single game, which is actually very uncommon for Aaron Jones's career. Throughout his 8-year career, this was also the most snaps he's taken as a running back last year in Minnesota. So again, I'm not trying to lose you. We're not talking about backup running back Jordan Mason having the most snaps of his career last year. We're talking Aaron Jones, Mr. Do-It-All for the Green Bay Packers, having the most snaps of his career in his 8th NFL season. And yes, part of that is because he did play all of the games, but it was also at a much higher percentage than it was for the rest of his career. So we could assume the possible outcome that Jordan Mason to take away less carries from Aaron Jones so he doesn't get injured, split up the workload. This would make Aaron Jones more of their pass-catching early down running back, where they can have Jordan Mason in shorter yard situations on third down and even when they need to score in the red zone. And of course, maybe it doesn't perfectly align exactly as I described, but that is one likely scenario. The other likely scenario is that Aaron Jones continues to be the guy here. And if that is the case, like I mentioned previously, not very common in his career has he played 17 games in a season. It's pretty likely that he's going to be out maybe 2 to 3 games, possibly more. And you can spot in Jordan Mason as a premium handcuff running back, as we've seen a year ago. You can plug him in and he's basically a must-start fantasy running back. It may not be likely that Jordan Mason takes the starting job, but it's also fair to say that he's probably not a sleeper at this point, because we all know that Jordan Mason is on our radar, but those are reasons that you should even be more mindful of the idea of drafting Jordan Mason. Now let's talk a very interesting rookie. Probably one you haven't heard of, and that's Woody Marks of the Houston Texans. And what makes Woody Marks an interesting rookie is not so much the fact of how talented he is or how much talented he is compared to the other rookies, but more so the landing spot and situation that he's currently in. You have a running back room of Joe Mixon, who's going to be 29 during OTAs this summer, Nick Chubb, who they just signed, who already is 29 and has multiple knee surgeries, and you have Dameon Pierce, who's potentially on the verge of getting cut, Dare Ogunbowale, and Woody Marks. And if something were to happen to Joe Mixon, let's just say, who, though he's relatively been an Iron Man his entire career, he only had one season where he didn't play double-digit games, so he's very reliable in terms of he's going to play. Misses a few games here and there in a season, but for the most part, very durable, very reliable in fantasy. But we can't expect the fountain of youth for Joe Mixon to be there every year. He constantly gets what feels like almost 300 carries every year and almost 100 targets to go with it. The guy is eventually going to see some sort of decline in production or even availability, which I don't want to see. And while, yes, it's very possible that he could be an outlier in the Derrick Henry type of category, where this is a guy who's pushing through his 30s and is still continuing to produce. But I don't really want to bet on that this year, 2025, in fantasy football. I would rather someone else take Joe Mixon and try it again. And I'll take Woody Marks at the end of my draft with a dart throw, because if something were to happen to Joe Mixon, or even a decline in production, there's only one guy on this roster that could actually catch passes out of the backfield right now. And that's Woody Marks. Nick Chubb has never been a great pass-catching back, and it seems like with the signing of Nick Chubb, he's going to be just a goal line back here. Sure, both Nick Chubb and Woody Marks could split carries in a perfect world if Joe Mixon was out of the picture somehow, but the receptions and the pass-catching down rolls, that's going to go to Woody Marks, and that's a lot more valuable over time than just the goal line work, because I'm going to get touchdowns just like the goal line work is going to be from Nick Chubb. So let people be in love with the name of Nick Chubb and having him as the sneaky guy that could take over in the backfield. I'm going to take my chances on Woody Marks, because he's actually the guy that can rush efficiently and can catch passes out of the backfield. Woody Marks may not be the fastest guy on the field, but I get a big, strong back that is not afraid of running into contact. And that's somebody I want on my fantasy team. I want an absolute dog. And even if we just look here at PFF stats, I know this is low-hanging fruit. This is comparing a college player's college stats to NFL players' professional stats. But if you look at yards per route run and some of these receiving metrics and rushing metrics, Woody Marks is just as capable of handling the backfield as Nick Chubb if something were to happen to Joe Mixon here. I'm not saying Woody Marks should be starting over Joe Mixon, not at all. But if something were to happen, he's going to be a thorn in somebody's side. Whoever you think the backup running back, the waiver wire play is going to be, Woody Marks is going to get that time on the field too. And he's going to be a pest and keep fantasy points off of the guy that you thought was going to be the guy. Lately, it's been the hot thing to draft a rookie tight end, and he ends up being the best tight end in fantasy football. And no, I'm not saying this is going to happen with this player, but I think we should definitely be monitoring Mason Taylor of the New York Jets. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't watched too many of these videos, or specifically conversations about tight ends, I truly don't believe in the idea that many tight ends can repeat top 10 status year over year. Now, don't get me wrong. You have guys that are literally the best tight ends in football, and we're talking about George Kittle, Travis Kelce for years. Now it's Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta. Like, these are, like, great tight ends. But the other guys, where I'm talking about, like, Jonnu Smith. I'm talking about guys that fall in and out of the top 10 every year, like a Jake Ferguson. No disrespect to any of these guys, but a lot of them pop into the top 10. A TJ Hawkinson is another one, though he has gone back-to-back before. But lately does not get to go back-to-back and stay in the top 10. So that's something to be mindful of. We're going to have a new name in the top 10 that you haven't heard, like Jonnu Smith was last year. So why don't we stay open to the idea of that Mason Taylor, the tight end and the new tight end for Justin Fields and the New York Jets, could actually maybe be one day a fantasy starter for you in 2025. Because let's not pretend that Cole Kmet, when Justin Fields was on the Bears, was some guy that you couldn't start in fantasy football. Cole Kmet was a guy that had 90 or more targets in 2 out of 3 seasons with Justin Fields and saw at least 6 touchdowns in 2 out of those 3 seasons. That's pretty good. No, it's not going to be top 8 fantasy tight ends. Maybe it's the 12th best guy. Maybe it's just floating outside that top 12. But it's definitely worth a shot when you consider how many tight ends are so boom or bust and the investment that it takes to get a guy, and maybe it's disappointing for a while like a Sam Laporta and then they turn it around. Or maybe you drafted Travis Kelce last year and you felt like it was a headache and you're wondering why you made that pick. Or you had double zeros back-to-back from Mark Andrews. Like, why even invest such a high draft pick? Grab somebody that's, projected to go outside that top 12, and then grab Mason Taylor as well, because Justin Fields loves throwing to a tight end. It doesn't even matter if there's a high-end wide receiver there or not, like a DJ Moore and Garrett Wilson in this case. There is an opportunity for Mason Taylor to pull out a real role in this offense as a number 2 receiving option. This offense is Garrett Wilson. This offense is Breece Hall. And then who else is coming along for the ride? Again, don't draft him to be your starting tight end week 1. We're going to monitor him. I'm probably going to take a late round dart throw on him if nobody's going to take him in my leagues. And finally, a sleeper. A sleeper like no other. A sleeper we should be familiar with. A sleeper we should monitor. Dare I say, a sleeper we should be drafting all off season long. That's Jack Bech of the Vegas Raiders. And Bech was a popular standout at the Senior Bowl. Very popular name, was trending, was doing a lot of crazy things. Everyone was wondering where he was going to go. And then he landed in the Raiders. And everyone kind of just viewed it as like, it's the Raiders, whatever. But now you have the Raiders. And you have Geno Smith. And you have a legit alpha go-to guy in Brock Bowers. He's basically a number 1 wide receiver. Then you have Jacoby Myers, who is a really good receiver. I'm not gonna say that he's, some amazing guy. I'm not gonna say that he's a bum who just they throw to. He's a very good receiver. But there needs to be some kind of third guy along the way. Is Ashton Jeanty gonna be the guy to get enough targets to really be the third fiddle or the third point of attack of this offense? I don't think so. I think he's definitely going to get his carries. I definitely think he's going to get enough volume and opportunity. But that third target getter, that third receiver or person that's going to catch passes for them, I think it's Jack Bech when I look at this roster. I don't think it's going to be Trey Tucker. And no, I don't think you should be jumping for joy on draft day if you're getting the third receiving option in the Raiders offense. But they do have a decent enough quarterback now where the third option might actually be fantasy valuable on a given week. He might actually be a bye week fill-in. He might actually be some trade value down the road. And just given the nature of how smooth of a player Jack Bech is, I just see him winning all over the field. He really reminds me, and it's not just because of the landing spot, of what Hunter Renfrow was doing at his absolute best, just winning in the slot. I really do believe Jack Bech could carve out a role just like that in the NFL and on the Raiders, no less. Before the slight upgrade to quarterback play, because we can't act like it's not an upgrade from Aiden O'Connell, this now makes somebody like Bech, a rookie that has potential to be an every week starter, a really interesting dart throw, and I'm going to take the chance on it this offseason. And that's going to wrap it up for our 5 players that we should be familiar with this entire offseason. I just want to say, if you stuck around and watched this entire video, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. If you like fantasy football and you want to see more fantasy football content like this, make sure you smash that like button for your boy. I truly appreciate it. It means the absolute world to me. That's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new. We are on the road to 1K subs. Would truly appreciate it if we can hit that, even if it's by the end of the year, even if it's 20 years from now. I'll take it, as long as I can say I checked that goal off my list. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy, and I will see you in the next video.